a very good day to you. Welcome to the Candid Talk. Definitely, this is Kenya's most comprehensive political and governance analysis show here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Evans Oking. Always a pleasure to have you on board. Of course, this afternoon I'm joined by a gentleman here. Of course, he's a young scholar and a leader in this country, a guy by the name Kidi Mwaga. Kidi, how are you?
Easy like a Sunday morning. I can't complain.
Welcome.
Pulling my weight nicely, and I am in the Mashuja spirit.
Okay.
Yes.
Definitely. Welcome to the Candid Talk.
Yes.
Definitely, we are saying this is Kenya's most comprehensive political analysis show. Our things are always candid, factual, and very simple.
Yes.
We do not complicate a lot of issues here, but then we want to know what is taking place in the political sphere in the country, and even globally, what is taking place in the countries. Of course, we are witnessing what is taking place in Israel and Palestine. Of course, quite an unfortunate turn of events therein. But then here we are. Now, Kidi, welcome to the show. I want us to look at what is taking place in the Nyanza.
Yes.
I had you actually pen this article about maybe it's high time the former Prime Minister knew when to hang the boots or something of the sort. But then here we are. The succession politics there is already on course. And we are seeing a lot of things taking place therein. One, we've seen the frequent visits by the president to the Nyanza region, in as much as the president got talk of peanuts in terms of votes from that particular region, but it's like it's now actually perceived to be benefiting more than the other areas that maybe gave the president a lot of votes. That is an issue there. A number of people are questioning his current visits therein. But then there is some sort of rebellion that we're also witnessing down there. A number of leaders have rebelled and from the party position, that is the Orange Democratic Movement Party, and have decided to work with the government.
Yes.
Let me get, first of all, your view about the kind of events that is taking place. Let's begin with the president's visit to the Nyanza region. Do you think that it's of any significance, or is the president just there for the development agenda, as he's saying, or there could be some political vendetta behind his presence in the Nyanza region?
I think it is a political vendetta, but maybe political agenda.
Yes.
About the article I penned about 2 weeks ago, I said the headline was, "It will be hard for Raila to rally Nyanza behind him in 2027. And if you went and read that article, it was an article that was premised on a lot of ifs. And because I have been in the political space for some time, so I know how political dynamics change. But then I was, the general thinking of that article was that if all factors are held constant, as they are, then 2027 may be a difficult battle for Baba to rally the Nyanza behind him. One, you must remember that the Nyanza constituency has supported Baba in particular and the Odingas generally since the creation of the world.
Okay.
Part of why that support has been unflinching was because of the communal project called the presidency. Luos have sought the presidency since 1966, after the now infamous Limuru Conference. And therefore, you realize that as we have been in pursuit of this presidency, there are things we have forgone. There are things ordinarily we should have enjoyed that we have refused to enjoy before, in the pursuit of that ideal of having one of our own sitting in the State House. And in economics it is called foregone best alternatives. So the other alternatives we have constantly forgone in pursuit of the presidency because we have believed, maybe legitimately or naively, that having one of our own in the State House would change the political and economic fortunes of our people. In the course of all that happening, we must also remember that the dominant party in our region, ODM, has done a less than elegant, and I'm repeating that, a less than elegant stakeholder management. So we've constantly had the question of aspirants being taken to the primaries, primaries that they eventually feel that had been predetermined, that people who have access to either the party leadership or who have deep pockets or both have constantly prevailed in the primaries unfairly at the expense of the legitimate winners of those primaries.
Okay.
But our people have constantly turned a blind eye to that in the pursuit of the presidency. That we must have our votes in one basket so that as we speak with one voice, let us strengthen our son so that as he's reaching out to other people, then home is calm. But you must also remember and appreciate that the outcome of the last presidential election wreaked a psychological havoc amongst our people. And our people are yet to recover. And so the question in 2027, if Baba is running and all factors are held constant, will be, what is in it for us? Is it the same old game of musical chairs? Or do we have a real chance of getting into the presidency? So it is against this backdrop that that article was penned.
Okay.
Again, back to your question is that if the president's visits to our backyard have got a political agenda.
Yeah, definitely. I want us to get into
a political,
that.
okay.
But of course, we'll answer that question about whether it's a political agenda or a development agenda as they put it.
Yes.
And then we'll actually come back to the reason as to why you're saying that Raila cannot actually sway the Nyanza.
I don't say he cannot. I say he may find it hard.
He may find it
Baba
hard.
has always had it easy.
So the same round
as we speak, I have always myself, our family, that is my mother and my siblings and my clansmen, we have always voted for Baba unquestioningly.
Okay.
This time round, a lot of people are asking questions.
You're saying that it may be a little bit, it may not be easy for Baba Man to actually sway or rather have some firm control over his vote reach back then. Now, we'll get into that conversation, but let's answer the question about the president's constant visits to the Luo Nyanza region. One, it's the significance of such visits. Are they political or development oriented? And do they actually have a certain motive that they intend to achieve? And if at all there is any, will they achieve them in the long run?
For the longest, Evans, Luo Nyanza has been deemed as the bedrock of anti-government politics. And therefore, every government in office wants to deal with the question of acceptability across board.
Okay.
And you realize that when the president came in, there were remarks by people within his administration that his government.
Before you continue, this bit of acceptability across board, are you talking about perhaps the social legitimacy of the president?
The social license, yes. You know, there is what is called the legal license, the legal mandate. The legal mandate is that you are declared by IEBC by dint of Article 140. Okay. If there is a dispute, you go to the Supreme Court. Depending on what the Supreme Court says, if the Supreme Court concurs with the IEBC, that question is done.
Okay.
But then there is more to governance than just the legal mandate.
Okay.
There is also the question of the social mandate, the social license. And so that social license is what others called legitimacy. And I will tell you, Evans, as someone who has had a chance to sit at the feet of proper legal scholars, is that legality may not necessarily confer legitimacy. There are instances where it does, there are instances where it does not. So, considering how our politics are structured, the president deemed it fit to deliberately reach out to that segment of the country. And it is something that the president must and needs to be applauded for, because we have not had a leader as visionary as that. Even President Kibaki, whom our people voted for overwhelmingly, did not entirely embrace us.
Okay.
If anything, he only came to Nyanza in his first term. The first time he was coming was in 2005. But even when he was coming, the politics of the constitutional amendment then had taken so much center stage that there was very little he could do.
Okay.
Secondly, by then, his government had been mired in corruption allegations. Already Anglo-leasing had, come alive in parliament. There were other corrupt deals that had, were being mentioned. There was a feeling then that, his government had been taken hostage by what people within the NAC government described as Mount Kenya Mafia. So President William Ruto has deliberately reached out to Nyanza. Why is this commendable? Is that this is an area that did not vote for the president. But when he has come to our region, he does not come to attend prayer rallies. He does not come to engage us in cheap, mindless banter. He comes with a clear development agenda. This is someone who is deliberately obliterating the politics of exclusion that previous holders of the office of the president have thrived on. You know that there was a time when the mere fact that he did not vote for a government was a license to be marginalized for a whole 5 years. Someone would say that there is a new constitution. How many times have this constitution been violated by those in power?
Okay.
Even by previous administrations. So I think that it is a very prudent political decision. It is a decision that people from the Nyanza backyard should support, because when a government deliberately wants to engage you, when the president comes with outstretched arms, it is only good manners that we reach out and grab that arm in brotherly embrace.
Okay. Make me understand this.
Yes.
This is the president who is the leader of the country.
Yes, please.
Nyanza region has got its leaders. What is it that the government, which kind of developments actually are you referring to? Because you're saying that the president's visit there purely development oriented and has got nothing to do with politics.
No, that is your interpretation of what I have said. I have said that the president has come with a clear development agenda. There is the Kisumu, Homa Bay, Sindo, Meru, Lakefront Ring Road that the president has committed to have upgraded to bitumen standards. There is the question of the sugar sector, particularly in South Nyanza, where I come from. There is the other development agenda that he has engaged the elected leaders, and they have sat down in closed-door meetings, and those leaders themselves, like the governors, have come out to tell us that they made those understandings, got into those understandings with the president. So I think for me that is laudable. And so the question of that, what I have said is that the president seems to be coming to the Nyanza backyard with a clear development agenda for that area.
That's what you're saying.
That's what I've said.
A clear development agenda for.
Yes.
So if you've even talked about the roads here. You've told me that road belt that you've just said here.
Yes.
Must he actually go there for that road to be made? Must he attend those rallies for any development to take place down there?
Not necessarily, but you realize that when the president goes down there, there is a lot of what you call trickle down. And so when the president comes down, and that's how I will put it to you, do you find it objectionable that the president comes to Nyanza?
No, not really, but then...
Yes, so when he comes and gets to understand the priorities of the people, the needs of the people of that region, he has a chance to interact with ordinary citizens of that area. I think, in my estimation, that is a step in the right direction. Yes.
Politically speaking,
Yes.
the people like, okay, yes, he's bringing us all these goodies. What is it in it there for the president?
All actors are self-interested. It is what you call the first law of nature. If the president could be having a political agenda towards his visits, I can't speak for him.
Okay.
There could be, but it is a wait and see.
From an analyst point of view, what do you see there?
There is one of the possible outcomes is that these trips may then endear the president to the hearts of the people from that region. And if that happens, then they may want to say that, I mean, he is a kinsman, he is jirani. I mean, he is not as bad as the politics of the last elections made us think or believe. He is someone we could actually consider when we are trooping back to the ballot. So that is a potential outcome of the president's visit. But I wouldn't speak for him. I have got absolutely no authority to speak for him.
But you're saying he has got a clear development agenda.
That I have seen, that I have observed.
That you've observed.
Yes.
But of course, behind these entire things. So that is why I was actually asking the question: what is the intention of the president? Is it just about the bringing development to that particular region of the country, and why that specific region, or is it that the president has got some?
I will put it again to you, Ari Evans. Why not? Do you have a particular problem if the president visits Nyanza, for instance?
No. My problem is these are national.
It has been that Nyanza has always been, you know, people who are in the office of the president avoid coming to Nyanza.
Okay.
Particularly when they are deemed to be at loggerheads with the political supremos from that backyard. And I think that is what I would call political nonsense. And therefore, that when people disagree politically, and I will now use this for example's sake. If the president has got political differences, say with Raila Odinga, their differences could be political and personal. The president does not have problem with, say, Kidimwaga, who says a sugarcane farmer in Soni, in Kamagambo. And so if the president, in his wisdom, chooses to visit the Kidimwagas of this world in Kamagambo, in Suna East, in Kakrao, you understand? Huh? In Uriri, if the president seeks to come, say, to fellowship, to get to know the development priorities of these people, I don't think there is a problem with that.
Absolutely, there's no problem.
Yes.
Yes, but
yes.
now, and that is why because I told you very well, this is a political analysis show.
Yes.
We are looking at every step that the president
and so that's why I'm saying that I can speculate
You can speculate.
that one of the potential outcome of such visits is that they may actually endear the president to the people, because it is a fundamental departure from how we know that presidents treat us, especially when our people have not voted for them.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, let's wait and see what actually will take place. But then, what would you tell the people who are saying no? The president is just but trying to throw some bones to the Nyanza people, just to try and woo them and pacify the region. And politically now, looking at it this way, look at it. The Nyanza region has been a stronghold of Raila Odinga for the longest time possible.
Yes.
Do you think that the certain people who believe that if at all you want to get any vote from that particular region, then you must go through the prime minister? The same way, if you need to get votes from central Kenya, you look for Rigathi Gachagua. If you want to get votes from perhaps western, the likes of Wetangula are there. Of course, they also have their leaders. Ukambani, Kalonzo Musyoka is there as the kingpin therein. So going through, for instance, going through Nyanza directly to the people, without passing through Raila Odinga, will you then say that it's a good step by the president, and will it really succeed in enabling him get any support from that particular region?
Evans, that is how things are always done. But it does not mean that that is how they should always be done. That our politics, more often than not, has been reduced into a competition between ethnicities. And therefore we have also organized, because we have organized our politics, particularly at the presidential level, as ethnic census, so that you realize that ordinarily a leading presidential candidate will have to have regional ethnic appointment. And those appointments are all what you call ethnic elites. That is how our politics has always been organized. And so you realize that what the action of the president actually does is that it threatens that modus operandi, political modus operandi. Because for the first time he is attempting to forge connection with the people of Nyanza without first seeking quote unquote permission from the powers that be, the political powers that be in that region. I will give it to you, Evans, that the former Prime Minister has got one of the most elaborate political infrastructure and networks in our region. And therefore, if at any point the Prime Minister feels threatened by the President's forays, I know he will, if he has not already done, activate his infrastructure to try to contain any pressure from the President's visit. But again, I told you, I know you have read one of the articles I wrote earlier in the year when I was urging that the President and the Prime Minister engage in quiet, direct diplomacy in the interests of the people. The fact that the President has demonstrated that he is willing to embrace our people, there should be no problem. And now they have engaged in national dialogue, the President and the Azimio team. There is no problem if the President visits our people, and if the President and the former Prime Minister continue to sustain constant communication between them in the interest of the people of Kenya. Yes.
Tell me, talk to me about the succession now, the real succession politics there. We've got a number of leaders who are actually upcoming, and we've got the so now called the infamous rebel Luo leaders, of course the likes of the Kisumu Senator Professor Tom Ojienda, MP, the Suba Member of Parliament, Karoli Omondi,
Ochanda from Bondo,
Elisha Odhiambo
from Game.
Yeah, and of course Jalas is here at the Langata constituency. Now let's look at it this way, politically speaking. Okay, let me first of all get it direct from you. With regards to political party fidelity, do you think that it was the right decision for these members of parliament to go against their party decision and behave in the manner in which they behaved in? And right now they've actually been labeled rebels, betrayers, and all manner of names that they've been given to.
I don't think I will be in a right position to answer that question. Because as we speak now, I am seated here as the convener Interparties Youth Forum. I believe in constant dialogue between people across parties. Because it is in hearing different perspectives that we are able to form better opinions about the decisions we need to make. And so, you see, ODM has said that the so-called rebel MPs that acted in a manner that was at cross purposes with the party position. But as much as I can recall, is that they went to visit the president at State House, and that they had certain, issues in their constituencies that they wanted to discuss with the president. I was old enough when President Obama was in the White House, and he attempted to engage in a bipartisan, approach, because America is equally a pure presidential system.
Yes.
And John Buena, who was then the speaker, had to sneak in through the back door, the side door of the White House, so that the press did not see him. In part because of the fundamentalist right-wing politics that had taken control of the Republican Party. Fundamentalism in religion, in politics, and anywhere else is a constant threat to humanity. I plead that we must remove fundamentalism from our politics. Maybe because I am politically naive, but I do not believe that a visit to the president in State House was orchestrating or perpetuating or promoting the ideologies of UDA. But then the matter, they went to court, and I think a determination will be made in the fullness of time. But even before the court prevails on this, as someone who believes in dialogue, I believe that it did not constitute what you call infidelity to the Political Parties Act. If anything, the people who should have been subjected to rigorous process were the people who actively defected from Azimio and went to Kenya Kwanza, like the Jubilee MPs. But remember, there is no process, attempts to remove them actively as our party is doing. You know, one thing that our party, and when I say our party, I mean ODM being the Nyanza party, it has done this same thing it is doing now, previously, and with so much arrogance and brouhaha. And the consequences have always been predictable. In 2011, if you read the book Peeling Back the Mask, Miguna says that he was instructed then as a senior advisor to the office of the Prime Minister to get an advocate who could then sue people who were deemed ODM rebel MPs. And he instructed the firm of senior Cecil Miller. And people like Duale were dragged to court, and Isaac Ruto, blah, blah. And then there was a question of the Rift Valley councillors who were supposed to be removed. And when they were on the verge of being degazetted, the then interim Independent Electoral Commission demanded that they do not be degazetted unless that they go for the ODM party goes for the big fish. I think ODM should learn one thing, that you do not have more admirers, have more followers, have more supporters when you are bullish. It is that bullishness that made up to almost 1 million people did not turn up in our backyard to vote. Why? Because of how nominations were done. And those nominations were done with that bullishness because of the underlying thinking that we used to say as a joke that Baba Okupingi, that Baba is always right. What that does is that it makes people not to be accountable for their actions. So I think before we treat these people as these 6 or 7 ODM, what we call ODM rebel MPs, I think the party of ODM needs to conduct itself with grace. That is my advice. Of course, advice is never binding. You can either take it or leave it. But if they were to ask me, I would say that I think that they are not conducting themselves with grace. Because when the rebel MPs of 2011 walked out of ODM, by 2013, ODM's majority presence in parliament shrunk significantly. When other people eventually, people from the coast like Aisha Jumwa, when they left ODM, again you saw that the areas that they were occupying, also other parties now made it became easier for other parties like PA to now come in and take those spaces. And ODM's presence again shrunk. If now we start persecuting our own children, our own people, I think that it may not look very bright for the party.
Okay.
That is my thinking, but I could be wrong.
Well, we've got here all these aspects that we must look into here. You said very well you're a believer in dialogue, but then there is also the law, and of course you believe, or you know what the law says when you try to actually
when you promote, when you defect,
the interest
when
of
you are deemed
party.
to have,
when you are deemed to have actually resigned from your political party, and that is actually the question that I was asking. At what point do these people interact with the president as the president of the nation, and at what point do they interact with him as the leader of UDA party?
Now, I think that a visit to the State House, my thinking was that these are leaders who, of course, could have gotten an invite to the president. I do not know what other intelligence that ODM party may have, or the party leadership may have, against these people that makes it believe that the only cause is to expel them. But then I think that expelling them is, number one, extreme. Besides being extreme, it looks to me that it is estimated, it is intended to create political panic and build a siege mentality and make every elected leader afraid of daring to, freely engage with anyone outside the ODM.
Okay.
And I think that it takes us back to what I told you earlier, that that is how things are always done, which is sometimes almost accepted, but it may not necessarily mean that that is how things should be done. It does not mean that it is right. Thank you.
Okay, now let's get to the conclusion of this, still with the succession politics and stuff.
Yes.
We are here witnessing, of course, we've got the ICTCS, Eliud Owalo.
Yes.
The Interior PS, Dr. Raymond Omolo. These are people who are within the, of course, the government. A number of people perceive them as people who should be somehow purely focusing on the mandate that they've been given, the national mandate that they have there.
Yes.
Not playing politics and doing all that. But then it actually appears as if the duo have been strategically placed.
Dabbling in politics.
Yeah, gambling in politics and driving this succession politics in Nyanza region. Now, tell me, be it as it may, we are having there Dr. Raymond Omolo, now purely politically speaking, and then we also have Eliud Owalo, plus these other rebel members of parliament.
So-called rebel.
Yes, the so-called rebel members of parliament therein. How easy will it be for them to actually sway people away from the Raila Odinga towards William Ruto? Because right now they've pledged their full support for the government. They're saying they're working with the government, and these are politicians. At the end of the day, we expect that they are going to campaign. We do not know, but then going by this direction, they may actually be rooting for the president, William Ruto. So therefore, how easy would it be for them to succeed in doing this? Why? Even looking at the past, the likes of Omamo, a number of leaders whom we've had in the past did not succeed. How easy will it be for them to succeed this time round?
That narrative of the likes of Omamo is a narrative that has constantly been used.
And Kaliech.
Omamo Kaliech, yes. To scare Luos who want to work with government. It is usually painted that if you're a Luo and you work with government, that you will come to nothing but ruin. And our people have, pointed out Mboya, then they have pointed out Ouko, and they have pointed out the likes of Omamo that now you are mentioning. But I want to tell you that history is like a river. It is never on the same spot twice. Mboya might have been killed, yes. We still do not know who killed Mboya, except to speculate. We can speculate about Ouko. But I want to tell you that Raila Odinga, in terms of the Luo succession politics, was not even number 3. In the pecking order, Orengo and Anyang'wa were front runners. But something happens in 96 that Raila bolts out of Ford Kenya, forms NDP, runs for president, and quickly starts working with government. What then happens is that while Orengo was still preaching the Luo nationalism through Mageuzi, Raila Odinga was cooperating, was working with Nyayo through what was called cooperation. And that cooperation then eventually became merger. So Raila Odinga eventually became the Secretary General of the political edifice that had persecuted so many Luos. There is something called pragmatism in politics. Things change, and it would be political naivety if we were to dismiss the illustrious sons from our region who have earned the trust of the president. Particularly the gentleman he has put in charge of internal security. That is a young man. Our people have a saying that which an old man denies a child will eat. But that which a child denies an old man, if the old man had not eaten it already, he may never eat it. I want us to extend grace to leaders from our region who are holding senior positions in government, because someday they may just be the path through which we may find communal salvation.
Okay.
Thank you.
What are the chances that these people will succeed? Is it easy for them? Will they actually succeed in toppling Raila's influence in the rural Nyanza region?
It is not about toppling Raila. It is about addressing the needs of the people. If they are able to address the needs of the people in such a fundamental way that it is a great departure from, say, what ODM and Raila has been able to do for the people, then that may create a shift. So I think that, and I have had a chance to interact I have never had a chance to interact with Owalo, so I can't speak for him. But I've had a chance to interact with the PS Interior. He's someone who is constantly concerned with the welfare of the people. And you see, when a leader places the welfare of the people, the human cost of his decisions constantly informs his decisions, then that is a leader who has his heart in the right place. As to whether that will lead to toppling Raila, I think that is immaterial, because we all have different races. The race, say, of Raymond Omolo is not to fight Raila or to topple Raila. It is to serve the people. And as long as he's serving the people of Kenya, including the people of Nyanza, then I think it all makes our governance story better and richer, as opposed to when such a national leader who has been entrusted with such a sensitive docket was to be reduced as someone who is engaged in political fisticuffs with the former Prime Minister. Thank you.
But unfortunately enough, that is how people are seeing it. That's how.
Now that is where your role as a media comes in. That your role is to educate, to inform, and therefore you must educate the people and help us move away from notions that put us in these straitjackets that have put us in this mess, the mess that we are all collectively trying to move away from.
No matter the approach that you're saying that the peers or rather these leaders will take, even if it's service to the people and being getting the heart of the people. The fact is, if at all they succeed, then they will actually sway the people away from the former Prime Minister. And that is why we were talking about succession politics here.
That will be what we call an intended consequence. That they are serving the people not to topple Raila, but if the people in their own wisdom, after getting the service, then, you know, move away from that political formation and embraces a new political formation. Now, that would be a consequence.
In short, you're saying it's possible.
Of course, it is a real possibility. It goes back to what I wrote in that article, that people may then say that what is in it for us?
Okay.
Because again, I will tell you that every actor is self-interested, and our people are not an isolation. If they have a government that can deliver for them, they will embrace it.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a conversation here with Kidi Mwaga. Remember, he's the convener for IYPF, that is the Inter-Party Youth IPYF Inter-Party Youth Forum. Definitely there in trying to unite all the young people under one umbrella, irrespective of whichever political party that one actually feels affiliated towards. Here we are, and we've had him on this conversation here on an exclusive episode of the Candid Talk, talking about the Luo region succession politics. Therein, please do weigh in on this conversation and tell us what you think about what is taking place therein. Will actually the president succeed with this kind of approach, or does it mean that Raila Odinga still maintains his control over that particular region? Ladies and gentlemen, remember, this is Kenya's most comprehensive political analysis show, and of course we'll be more than glad to bring you up to date with everything that is taking place in this country. Till we have this conversation again, have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi.